Hi guys, welcome to the channel. We are at Humberside Airport today in a King Air, and today I'm going to take you north up to the Humber Bridge, tell you a little bit about the area, a little bit about the bridge. We're going to take then a bearing of roughly 183, i.e. south, and we're going to head straight to RAF Waddington to end the flight, hopefully passing Lincoln Cathedral as well, so you get a quick view of that. Reason we're in a King Air today, it's nice, powerful aircraft, great rate of climb, happily cruise at 200 knots, easy control surfaces. And you know, as I'm talking to you guys, I want to be concentrating on that. I don't want to have to concentrate on keeping straight and level and whatever else. So it's going to be a great aircraft for me to take you around today. You won't be waiting around for a long time. This channel is for noobs, and you'll notice straight away that I don't have track IR or any kind of head tracking going on here, which will probably freak some of you out. I've seen some great YouTube videos about it, and I probably will invest eventually. I'm actually holding out for eye tracking, is what I'm holding out for. But I mean, this is, as I say, I am a noob.
Oral warning, okay.
I am fairly new to this. I only bought the PC in February. Full disclosure, I have about 12 hours flying time as a kid, but that was decades ago, literally. And this for me was just a means of kind of revisiting my childhood. I used to play flight sims as a young child. Shocks Away was probably my first on the Archimedes Acorn. You go on YouTube videos of that if you like. And I did play Microsoft Flight Sim 95, I think it was, which came out for Windows. But literally since then, I've never touched a flight sim since. So this, you know, as I say, very, very new to me. This is not something that I have a great deal of experience on. So you can see already, I've been really, really lazy. I started both engines at the same time, which you shouldn't do. But it just means we can get started quicker. Let's say Humberside Airport, south bank of the Humber estuary. And I've chosen, sorry, I was going to show you the time of day there. I've chosen early morning, of course, east coast, sun coming up nicely in the east there. It should give us some good lighting effects. And hopefully give us some good shadows on the bridge and so on.
System test. Okay.
It's giving me a Peter heat warning. I'm just going to give it a quick test, make sure it goes off. It does. We're going to turn on Peter heat. Great. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. So here we go. And we're going to have a north departure.
Humberside ground, X-ray Golf 001 ready to taxi north departure with uniform.
X-ray Golf 001 taxi to and hold short of runway 20 via taxiway.
So what ATC just told me is that I'm cleared to take off from runway 20. For those of you that don't know what that means the runway is heading at 200 degrees, i.e. more or less south. Now, with the multifunctional displays you can see here in the middle there, it's pretty easy to figure out what that means. I'm going to take this guy's head off. So the only thing with Microsoft Flight Sim that I really don't like is that people stand in totally inappropriate places. It's pretty easy to figure out where you're going, and Cessna, of course, it's a lot more difficult with the steam gauges. You'll notice straight away, and the noobs amongst you like me will notice straight away that I don't have nav waypoints on the ground. I see a lot of YouTube videos where people have that on, and I think, you know, it's a great addition to the game. But I mean, I remember I talked about those 12 hours of flight that I had. I remember one of the most challenging things about flying was not the flying, but actually just finding your way around a new airfield. And if you imagine you draw a 3 mile by 3 mile grid and say find this exact location within this grid, you know, it's really difficult. And I used to find genuinely that the taxiway signs like this one here and the directions you were giving just made no sense whatsoever. You just used to taxi around just hoping for the best. Now I know that the runway is at 200 degrees, which is roughly south. So if I'm going to take off in the direction of the south, then I know that the other end of the runway must be in the north. So as long as I have that in the back of my mind, I know vaguely, where I'm going. And we can see here, I'm heading towards the north end of the runway, and this taxiway sign, thankfully, is really useful, and is telling me that I'm at runway 20 here. So we're going to take a pause here. Now, normally at this, in reality, you'd probably do some additional engine checks here. Take my warning off, my brakes. We're just going to ask ATC if we can take off. So we're doing everything VFR today, obviously, as I want to be able to show you the bridge. We're running at roughly 55% traffic, so we shouldn't see too much of that. So ATC are giving me clearance. Now the only thing, when it comes to the King Air and flying, is with my HOTAS setup, and I've got a very affordable HOTAS setup. I've got the Thrustmaster 16,000 AM, so relatively cheap, plasticky. There's not much realism to it, but it kind of does everything I want. But the only thing is, I haven't mapped my keys buttons very well, so I have to take my hands off the stick in order to get the landing here, which, as you'll see in a minute, is the most frustrating thing in the world. So we're going to go full power here and see me playing with the rudder. I don't have rudder pedals. I'm actually using my little finger and forefinger on a paddle on my throttle. So we've got 100 knots here. I'm going to start getting the nose up. Here we go. Climbing nicely, and as I say, it's got a great rate of climb. And there goes the landing. Looks like I should turn green nicely in a minute. There we are. I'm going to throttle back slightly. You can see the RPM in the middle there flashing away red. But regardless of any of that, the King Air has tons and tons of power, and it is the reason I've taken it out today. I really won't have to worry that I'm going to stall and fall out of the sky. I'm not going to have to worry that I'm going to have to be able to, not going to be able to climb in a hurry. I clearly am. You can see this rate of climb already. The attitude here is not extreme. It's fairly easy, and as you can see already, our rate of climb is fantastic. So that was the tower telling me that I'm leaving the airspace now. I can switch my radio frequency over to area control, for example, if I want to. I'm actually going to stick with Humberside for now. We're going to stick around this general area, and frankly anything at our height, flying in the area is probably going to be in touch with Humberside. So as I say, we're going to have a look at the Humber Bridge today. We're on the south bank of the Humber Estuary. That's where Humberside Airport is. And I'm going to do as much as I can without the use of multifunctional displays. I think one of the joys of Microsoft Flight Sim and flying in general is the navigation and actually just being able to find your way around. I'm going to level off here at around 3,000 feet. Now, finding the Humber Bridge on the south side of the estuary isn't going to be terrible, because realistically, I know where east was. I've obviously got a compass to tell me where east was, but the sun was also telling me where east was. And I know clearly that the Humber Estuary is going to be to my north. And that's what we're heading towards now. You can see it coming into view here. Now, if I can find the estuary, I can find the bridge. I know that the bridge is going to run along that estuary. So that's all we're going to do. We're going to continue this left bank and head towards the Humber there. And you can see it leading off in the distance. You'll notice that I'm looking around a lot, particularly left as I do this turn. Now, I've set traffic at relatively low, like I say, at around 55%. In reality, of course, what you've got to remember is there are loads of aircraft flying about, and a lot of people think, well, the sky is such a big place, like there's no danger. I can't stress how untrue that is. Like you have Muppet noobs like me just flying around, and yeah, I mean, it can get dangerous very, very quickly. So we've got a slight downward attitude here. Get our nose up ever so slightly, throttle back. As I say, we're going to hit this estuary here at 220 knots, and we're just going to fly along the estuary until we find the bridge. Now, as I say, this is the south bank, and this will be what you would know as North Lincolnshire. You've got Scunthorpe and Doncaster over to my east, and Grimsby over to my west. I believe when I'm flying over at the moment, just coming into view here, I believe that's Immingham though, I don't know. And you can actually start to see the bridge already. It's coming to sight, so we're just going to take, having now seen it, we're going to take it back, left turn and head over there. Currently holding 2,000 feet, give or take, which for me is fine. Yeah, I believe this is Immingham, chemical refinery. That's the M180 there, and again, you know, I've got the multifunctional displays here. They're really, really useful. But in reality, part of the joy of flying is figuring out where you are. And I remember once in real life, I wasn't concentrating. Found myself over a city, and I had no idea which city it was. It turned out to be Preston, but frankly, it could have been Manchester or anywhere else. I've lost a lot of altitude. You can see, dropped about 500 feet there as I was talking to you. So I'm going to start to attitude up. I'm going to put the aircraft to trim. One of the only annoying things about my HOTAS setup is that the trim wheel is super sensitive, and honestly, sometimes I brush it even with just a piece of clothing. The trim changes massively. So I'm doing my best here to try and maintain a healthy altitude for you. You can see the bridge over there. I'm going to continue looking around, make sure there's nothing around. So it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear this morning. Not much to worry about. So as I say, nice and easy this nav exercise. Getting to the bridge is easy because the estuary is incredibly easy to see. From the bridge, we are going to head to RAF Waddington. It's a heading of about 183 degrees, I think, i.e. south. On the way, I hope to see Lincoln Cathedral or Lincoln. And that's going to be the nav point, if you like, or the landmark I'm going to use to find out where I am. So the bridge is coming into view now. On the north side of it is, of course, Hull, and the bridge connects the south and the north banks together, and actually saves roughly an 80-mile journey from having to go all of the way around, which, when you think about it, must have been incredible when it was built to people living in the area. You know, to only live what is probably, I'm going to guess, about 2 miles apart from south to north bank altogether, but to have to drive 80 odd miles to get to see one of the must have been incredible. And the bridge will, I'm sure, have made a massive difference, not just to families but to industry as well. Hull is a big industrial centre. You know, I think historically it's always had a bad name because of the fact it's industrial. It was bombed heavily in the war. In fact, Second World War. Not well known. The Third Reich kept that. The UK, Great Britain kept that a secret largely at the time because they didn't want the Third Reich finding out how accurate or inaccurate its air raids were. But yeah, it was bombed heavily during the Second World War, and today remains a big industrial hub. It was City and Culture, of course, in 2014, I believe it was. Coventry is next on the list. We'll see if we can get a flight past Coventry. So here's Hull coming into view now. There's a Casey Stadium down there. It's a real shame that stadium wasn't brought to life in the World Update, but clearly they can't do every football stadium. But it's a beautiful looking stadium. Bridge nicely coming into view now. The bridge was opened in the early 80s, 1981, I believe. It was opened by the Queen, but it'd been actually constructed over a period of some 10 years, I believe. So it was a long construction project. And what isn't well known about this bridge is, at the time, it was the longest of this kind in the world. Which, when you think about it, for this part of the UK, on the East Coast, is incredible. The East Coast doesn't typically have, accolades like that. So, as I say, at the time, this was the longest bridge of its type in the world. It no longer is. If anyone's been to Istanbul, the bridge there looks identical, but it's like twice as long. You'll notice straight away there are no vehicles, by the way, on this bridge. In reality, that is not true. It's a very, very busy bridge. I keep my traffic levels down to a minimum for the ground. I'm not normally close enough to the ground or go sightseeing or anything like that, really, for it to be an issue. Although having said that, well, we're doing roughly 7 o'clock in the morning, so yeah, this may well be vaguely accurate. This bridge didn't exist in the game until the world update, would you believe? So prior to that, there was just a road going over the Humber. There was also, and I think this is what this is. That I think is a shadow, and you can see there. I don't know that for sure. If anyone knows any different, you know, feel free to comment in the comment section. But I believe that's a shadow that's been rendered from the satellite imagery. But I could be wrong. But if it is, you know, it's a real shame that that's been retained there. But it is fantastic that the Humber Bridge has been recognised in the game. It is clearly a very beautiful looking bridge, particularly with the lighting as it is today, with a lot of history, and indeed should be celebrated. And I hope, you know, I hope this video inspires a few people to come and have a look at this part of the world. You know, I'm sure there are plenty of people that have flown the Grand Canyon, flown San Francisco, and so on. When that world update came out, that was a great update. I'm not sure too many people are going to go, oh, do you know where I fancy going today? I fancy going to Humberside to go to the Humber Bridge. But I hope this inspires a few people. One thing I've always loved about this version of Microsoft Flight Sim is frankly just the number of trees. I mean, I'm sure global warming would not be as extreme as it is if there were this many trees just flying around. Doesn't matter where you go, they just seem to be everywhere. They seem to be in everyone's back gardens. Of course, in reality, I doubt very much that's true. So here we are, beautiful look over the Humber Bridge here at dawn. Sun coming over that east coast. Real shame, as I say, about what I think is a shadow, though I'm not sure. Again, if anyone knows any different, please let me know. So I actually vaguely managed to maintain altitude there at 1,400 feet. Now, as I say, we're going to take a south bearing and head towards RAF Waddington, where we're going to end our flight. There's no real reason why I've chosen Waddington. I just think it's a nice, easy airfield to find. If you can find Lincoln, you can find Waddington. Generally, the one is visible from the other. In fact, talking of which, we will climb ever so slightly, so I get a better aerial view of what's going on. Just continue to keep a lookout. Now, this is what I was talking about in terms of navigation earlier. Based on the flight profile so far, where we took that left turn to head north up to the Humber estuary, we then headed east. Based on that, I know now that Humberside Airport should be to my left somewhere. I can't see it. Well, at least I don't feel I can see it. But it should be out there somewhere. So, you know, right now, if I was to ever get into trouble, if there was engine failure perhaps, or whatever else, I know that to my left somewhere there's an airfield that can help me. But as I say, we're going to bypass that. We're going to head south. I believe this road here is the A15 that we're following, which is again nice and useful. That is a very straight north-south road between South Lincolnshire all the way to the Humber. I believe it's just a long straight pass. On the way, we will find hopefully RAF Scampton, which is the home of the Red Arrows. Again, that could be another landmark to help me out. So according to my multifunction display, Humberside is over to my left, although I can't actually see it at the moment. Another interesting thing about going to RAF Waddington in a King Air is that the RAF does actually operate a King Air from RAF Waddington. RAF Waddington is the home of many of the RAF's I-Star fleets. It's got the E3 Sentry, which many in the world recognise as AWACS aircraft. It's got a Sentinel R1, which I believe is a sort of ground reconnaissance / surveillance aircraft. I believe it's the home of the RAF drones, though again I might need someone to validate that for me in the comment section. But interestingly, there is a King Air there. It's kitted out with lots of sensors. I believe it's called a King Air Shadow. Yeah, have a Google of it and you know, check it out. It looks nothing like this, of course. The King Air is used by the RAF Waddington as a multi-engine trainer, I believe. I also think it's the Queen's private aircraft was run by the Royal Air Force. Again, someone might need to validate that for me. You can actually see back here, there is room for passengers, a handful, I would guess between 5 to 10, give or take. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if that was the Royal flight. And I described to you earlier like how easy this aircraft is to fly. You can see at the moment it's got a great autopilot feature. I'm not using it at the moment. The autopilot feature is here in the middle. You can synchronize your speed, heading and altitude, and frankly fly anywhere you want. It's got a range, I think, of around 1,500 miles, so you can really do some great flights in Microsoft Flight Sim in this aircraft. And again, with that high rate of climb, you get to your low altitude airways fairly easy. Indeed, some of the high altitude airways are quite well within reach for this aircraft. I have done Humberside to Schiphol before. Schiphol's a massive airport if you've not tried it out yet. And actually just being able to navigate your way around that, even with your IFR markers, is really difficult. So I've been talking to you for a couple of minutes now, and you can see straight away my headings ended up being 190, and as I say, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to hold about 193, and this is incredibly real. Like, you get distracted and you find yourself off course very easily. The MFDs clearly help me. I've got that massive purple line that's telling me exactly where Waddington is, but I am doing my best to do this sort of, if you like, off the cuff. And actually this is a really good example. Right now, just looking around, there is nothing really to help me understand where in the world I am. I know I'm heading south, I can tell that because I know where the east coast is, but there's nothing here that tells me specifically where I am. And I think this is one of the joys of VFR. You really are having to concentrate, you really are having to figure things out on your own. And even just then, going third person straight away shut me off course as I rotated that camera around. So, as I say, yeah, King Air is utilised by the Royal Air Force as a trainer, and flying it here in Microsoft Flight Sim, it doesn't surprise me. It is nice and easy. You saw my startup, which again is not difficult. I was a little bit lazy with the outside both engines at the same time, but again, that just sort of speaks volumes about how easy this is to fly. Slightly out of trim, so you can see as I relax my hand a little bit on the stick, I start to gain a little bit of vertical airspeed, so I've trimmed it out a little bit. We're actually holding 2,400 feet really nicely here. I'm being really light on the stick. Again, we're going to keep a lookout for any other aircraft that can happen, and we just want to make sure we're not on a collision course with anything else. I mentioned RAF Scampton, home of the red arrows. That should be, I would think, on this time basis, not too far from us. So in reality, there's every chance you're going to see 9 red aircraft suddenly speed by you at around 2,500 feet. So looking around is important. And as I say, I don't have traffic set today high. I've done that clearly because I'm recording a video and I want to make sure my FPS is as high as it can be. So I've gone and avoided that. Just talking of FPS for a minute, I mentioned my affordable stick and throttle. Actually, my PC was relatively affordable. I'm running 10th gen i5 and an RTX 3060. And FPS has been, as you can see, relatively strong. Now, in fact, as I was in third person there, you notice the cathedral. And this is the only major thing with the King Air, is that visibility is not great, unfortunately. So there's every chance at the height I was, I could have missed it. So we're going to throttle back in, hopefully have a little flyby Lincoln Cathedral. And there, straight away on the left there, as I expected, was RAF Waddington. So as I say, this is a great kind of real basic VFR nav exercise. So if you kind of want a short nav exercise. I know Microsoft Flight Sim does do longer ones. If you're not into that, and I must admit I don't do them, they're just too long for me. I wish I had this kind of day to be able to do it. If you're into just wanting to do something light, something like this is a really good example. Lincoln Cathedral is nice and obvious, and it's beautiful in real life actually at night. Let's throttle up a bit, gain some altitude. Yeah, lit up at night is fantastic. And this is Lincoln that I'm heading over now. Again, you know, nice, easy, big landmark to be able to go on. Our Waddington is over there, so I'm gonna hopefully climb over it if I can. But we are going to tune in now. Here we are. And we're going to press a full stop landing.
Waddington Tower, X-ray Golf 0014 miles, northwest to land.
There it is. I've now got some good height.
X-ray Golf 001 Waddington Tower. Fly left base runway 20. Altimeter 29.9 and 272 and 10.
So it wants me to fly left, a left-hand turn out of runway 20, and join the circuit. So
Enter left base runway 20.
I'm going to try,
X-ray Golf
actually,
001.
what I'm going to try and do is, I'm going to try an overhead join if I can. Let's give this a go. So there it is. To do an overhead join, I'm going to have to come from the live side of the runway over the top of it, and then turn left onto the downward straight. I mean, to be honest though, I've said all that. I actually could just enter the circuit here, which is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep a close eye. I don't want to. The only thing with the ATC on Microsoft Flight Sim is that it's not quite clever enough to sense if anything's crossing you. So quite high, thankfully. We are, yeah, we can join its downwind leg, I think. So we're going to throttle back. We're going to drop some of our height here. Height's coming down nicely. Carrying quite a lot of speed, which isn't useful. I'm about to join the circuit. So this is not far off, frankly, what an overhead join would look like anyway. So an overhead join would have joined from the live side of the runway, would have then descended across here, exactly as I'm doing now, and then turned onto the downwind straight. So as I say, this is not altogether false. I am carrying quite a lot of speed, which I am going to have to drop off, and I will be dropping my flaps in a minute as I start to turn in here. So there are actually some good circuit lessons on Microsoft Flight Sim. It's not, like I say, ATC sadly isn't quite as intelligent as I would have liked. But actually, like, doing the circuit is not far off real. Now, it's a good tip for you. I'm actually looking at my compass at the minute to find the opposite, if you like, of 200. Flaps coming down now. Just keep it trim. We're going to try and drop some of this speed. So we're going to fly parallel, and as I say, I'm keeping an eye on that compass to find that parallel to it. Landing gear is going to come down here, throttle up slightly in anticipation of that. So we've nicely entered the circuit here. It's a clear circuit, so I'm not having much to worry about. As I was turning in there, you kept seeing me look over to the runway. I was just checking for any live aircraft that were either about to take off or indeed in the circuit. So nicely holding about 1,000 feet here. We're flying nice and parallel to the runway. There's Lincoln Cathedral again. Landing gear's down, my flaps down as well. Quick check. Throttle's way back. I'm going to drop flaps again.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
I say my landing gear.
Landing gear.
Let's try that
Landing gear.
just back to
X-ray Golf 001 cleared to land runway 20. Wind 272 and 10.
That is why you should always check. So one of the things my HOTAS setup is I really rushed the key bindings, like really rushed them. But that is a really good example of why I actually genuinely need to check. So here we are. I'm going to make this left turn now. I'm going to throttle up a bit. So it drops a little bit of height there. I'm trying to maintain about 1,000 feet as I do this turn. Make sure I don't stall, keep speed up a little bit. There's the runway, nice, coming into view now. And as I say, this is an actual runway that King Airs would actually use. So this is not altogether unreal. RAF Waddington isn't very well developed here. I kind of wondered if they'd hidden stuff on the satellite imagery, because it's actually a much bigger site than this. Way bigger. I've actually seen a B-52 RAF Waddington before. And by the way, you think you've seen a B-52 on videos or on games or whatever, DCS for example. But trust me, until you see it in real life on a runway, it is absolutely incredible. Like nothing you've ever seen before. The size of it is just immense. And so, as I say, if that can fit on this runway, that gives you an idea of kind of how big this place actually is. You can see straight away the taxiways aren't very well developed in here. So I've come in a bit high and a bit steep, so I'm going to have to play with this a little bit. Drop throttle back here. This is not terrible. I'm carrying a bit of speed. I'm going to have to drop some of that speed before I just hit too hard. We should just nicely cut. There we are. And you can see we're struggling with the paddle. It's the only thing with not having rudder pedals, like you're having to do quite sensitive motions with your little finger. But it's doable, and I hope that shows that you don't need to spend a fortune to be able to set up a flight sim at home. So straight away you can see these RAF Waddington is not very well developed. In reality, there are tons and tons of buildings. There used to be an air show here once upon a time. I've been a few times around. Works at that air show. And it's massive. It's not this small.
X-ray Golf 001, turn next
So it's
taxiway.
telling me to turn the next taxiway, and of course, as you would have seen, there aren't any, so I'm just going to have to go on the grass here and kind of make it up as I go along.
X-ray Golf 001, contact ground on 121.3.
Just acknowledge ATC.
Going to 121.3.
So you can see here with the
X-ray Golf
satellite imagery,
001.
the sort of rendered graphics kind of overlapping. It's clearly it's a taxiway like real life, but on the game, it's coming up as a grassy sort of taxiway. In reality, that probably isn't the case. It's probably concrete. Well, guys, I'm going to hold it here and just apply my brakes. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you found it vaguely interesting. I hope for the noobs amongst you who don't know too much about this game, I hope it'll inspire you to try something a bit different and to give it a go. As you would have seen, it's fairly easy to do. I was in a multi-engine aircraft and still able to do it, so I'd say to give it a go. There are some great tutorials on the game to teach you what's what. Thanks again, guys, and hopefully I'll show you other areas of the UKC.